the last head coaching hire, he's not officially hired yet, but they're saying that he's pretty much going to be the next Lions head coach.
Jeez.
It's Dan Campbell. And do you think Dan Campbell can turn the Lions culture around? He was an interim head coach for a while with the Dolphins. When Joe Philbin went 1-3, he took over and he took that team to a 5-7 record. Dolphins players love Dan Campbell. If you look at his interviews, look at his post-game celebrations with the teams, you can see he's a fiery guy with passion who loves the game of football. And he was an assistant head coach to Sean Payton from 2016 to 2020 with the Saints. So you can say that if Sean Payton trusts this guy to be the assistant head coach, then he has to be doing something right. But what do you think this means for the Lions? Do you think this can turn them around?
I was pretty surprised to hear about this just because being a fan of a team who was looking for a head coach, I thought I kept tabs on pretty much all the reasonable options. And Dan Campbell was not somebody that I had heard much about coming into the coaching carousel this offseason. But the more I've looked into it, the more I like it for the Lions, specifically because of what they're coming off of in Matt Patricia. And the culture that he developed in Detroit was toxic. It was horrible. Guys wanted nothing to do with the Lions. They were forcing their way out. I know, so many stories have come out from there. Damon Harrison was one of the main guys who is, I don't want to say aired the dirty laundry, but has made it known how bad of a coach Matt Patricia was. And there's plenty of stories that you go into. And Dan Campbell, although he doesn't have, the check mark, he doesn't check all the boxes of what you would be looking for in a head coaching candidate. He doesn't have this crazy NFL experience. He doesn't have this specialty as a coordinator on either side of the ball. What he does bring is leadership. He played in the NFL. He's been in NFL locker rooms. He was with the Saints as an assistant head coach, I believe was his title. And the culture that they have there. Like you said, his stint with the Dolphins. The guys that he has played for really loved him. They speak highly of him. Guys who know him speak highly of him. And everything that I've heard about this hire has been pretty good. The only thing I want to see before I give a complete grade on it, I would say, is his coordinator spots, because I think it'll be important based on the fact that, again, he doesn't have that coordinator specialty like a Robert Saleh or a Brian Dable would. So I'm intrigued to see who he brings in. But I just love the fact that they're getting some leadership in the building, which is something they've lacked probably going back to Jim Caldwell. So I just think it was a necessary thing for the Lions to turn around their culture, and I think he's going to do that.
The experience, obviously, I'm a little fell back on it, but the Lions, what they said they wanted was adaptability, flexibility, and leadership, and they feel like Dan Campbell can fit all three of those. I think the leadership is probably the one we could definitely bank on. Judging from his stints back in the day, we can see, and from what Sean Payton did, he trusts him as an assistant head coach, so we can see that in him. But I think the Lions are a mess right now, and I think they just need some stability. They need a guy to come into the locker room and control the locker room and control those players. And with they still have a good quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Hopefully he can turn that around. Kenny Golladay, we don't know what he's gonna do. He's up in the air. So that team, they're in a mess right now. But if the first thing, obviously, for a lot of teams is to get a coach and get some leadership in that office, get some guys that he can be the man, he can run the show. So in that aspect, this is a good sign for them. They got a guy who can be the leader. But like I said, I'm optimistic about this. This is probably one of the hires that I'm the I'm the least optimistic about, and I'm kind of like, about it. But so far, it's okay.
So for me, I think the Lions are in a position where we're not sure what they're going to do. Are they going to start rebuilding? Are they going to try to compete with this roster right now and make some tweaks? Everything is up in the air. Brad Holmes, who's their new GM, he got hired as a new GM. In his interview, it kind of hinted at the fact that they might draft a quarterback in the draft, and they might get Matthew Stafford's successor. I don't think it would be the greatest idea to start that quarterback right away. I know that Matthew Stafford's name has been floating in the air about potential trades, and they might move off from him. I think you should still have Stafford there to help groom a young quarterback if they do go that route. But I think that this team can compete, and I saw signs of it. I mean, look, this year they were the 32nd ranked defense. Last year they were the 26th ranked defense. Obviously, the defensive side of the football is what's holding them back the most, mostly because last year Matt Patricia refused to blitz. He played man-to-man like 90% of the time, and his corners got smoked. But I still think that they have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, starting with Jeff Okudah, who was a 3rd overall pick. He was really bad this season. He was hurt too, but he was really bad this season.
Put him in the Lions then, though.
He was really bad this season, and they have to find a way to get the best out of him because he was supposed to be the next great cornerback prospect. And we've heard that before as Jets fans when we drafted D. Milliner. He was supposed to replace Darrelle Revis.
I remember him,
So guys don't always pan out like that. But I'm just saying they have a lot of talent. Trey Flowers, Romeo Okwara, who's a free agent, but they're probably going to bring him back. Danny Shelton is good too. You got guys like Justin Coleman, Deron Harmon, who he's a free agent as well. Jeff Okudah, Desmond Trufant. I don't think this defense should be the 32nd ranked defense. So it really does depend on who they bring in at that coordinator spot, defensive back coach, all of those other stuff. Dan Campbell, you're right. He doesn't have a specialty, but what he does bring is leadership. But I'm not sure if he's going to be bringing in that leadership to a veteran team or a young team. It really, for me, I think you can still win with Matthew Stafford. He's only 32, so you can win with him. He can play like 4, 5, 6 more seasons. If you can get this right now, give Stafford a defense. Last time he had when they went 11-5, you can compete. But first things first, you have to fix that defensive side of the football. I'm not sure if Dan Campbell does that, but I think he does bring stability and a culture change to Detroit.
Yeah, and I just think it's a tough position to put him in because you don't know where they're going to go. And you mentioned how they're thinking about drafting a quarterback. They're still at 7, so I don't think there's any world where Fields or Wilson drops to 7 at this point.
Lance will be there.
But Trey Lance will be there. And Trey Lance is a guy, like you said, I would not want Trey Lance starting from day one. I think he is more of a project. I think he's a sit behind a quarterback for a year and then come in. I think Trey Lance has a lot of potential, and I think he could be a great quarterback in the league. But I don't think he's a day one starter. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to bring in Trey Lance and start him from day one, I feel like you're putting Dan Campbell in a position to fail, and I hope they don't go that direction. I kind of hope they try and right the ship quickly, keep Matthew Stafford, and see if they can turn it around. I don't think this is a roster devoid of talent. I just think it's a franchise devoid of direction, and I hope that Dan Campbell can be the rudder that helps them find their way, and I hope they trust him to do that and give him Matthew Stafford and build around the core that they have right now rather than saying, let's go full rebuild. And then I promise you, if they do that, Dan Campbell will more than likely become the scapegoat, and you'll see them in the same position 3 years from now looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if Matthew Stafford and Dan Campbell could get on the same page, I think this is a team. Because this team, in the beginning of the years, this year and last year, they start off really good. They play well, and then they start blowing leads. And you can see it's really that defense that holds that offense back. But I think, those young guys in there, if Dan can get them on his side, they can definitely be a good team. If they draft right, get this draft right, get next year's draft right, they're going to be okay for a few years.
And Dan Orlovsky has said that Dan Campbell would build a great coaching staff in Detroit. So let's see how true his word truly is. He has a chance to do that now.